it's very easy to convince someone who is under-resourced, who feels under-supported, um, who feels like there's not enough time to, it's not easy to convince them to make the time, right? Because they believe that there's no time. But it's easy to speak to the fact that there's a void, right? And so when you think about like, do I have time to go to take a yoga class or to go spin or to go take a freaking walk outside? Like most of it, even a shower, right? Like you think like, oh my gosh, it's such a luxury to do these certain things. Now, knowing that we have to start incrementally, right? I don't say like go out, you know, just, okay, now I'm doing everything like I used to do before I had children, not even asking anything like that, but more asking us to think about like, how can I design my life and space for myself? So that might mean I have a sister circle of support. So we start there. And we certainly don't start once the baby arrives. We think about this in anticipation of the child coming. Because when we think about what community looks like, how we get through these moments of challenge, right, is through community. And ideally, how we evolved, right, was in community, we had birth villages, like we weren't by ourselves. And so we've designed this space, right, like not ourselves, but sort of our society, you know, has become modernized and we live at this accelerated pace and everything is fast and immediate and you're living really far away from your relatives and everybody's spread out. And so we don't have the folks who would have nurtured us, who would have come over to cook and like wash our laundry and maybe do a couple dishes, hold the baby while we take a shower, right? Those people aren't around. And so we have to actually create that village for ourselves. And so my advice early on is like, okay, not to just say, like, here's some ways you can do things nice for yourself. Like, no, let's now create the birth village. Who's going to be there? Because you only got two hands. And when you're trying to wash your behind and also trying to like wash some dishes and feed a baby, like you can't do it all at once, right? So, and even if you can, it's not to be done, right? Like you need help, right?
That's, you know, that's huge. Even if you can, doesn't mean you should.
Yes, you got to get help. And I think asking, and so in pregnancy, we all know there are points where you just need to ask, right? So at a certain point, I can't tie my shoes, right? At a certain point, there's things I can't do on my own. And that's a great lesson in getting used to asking for help. And so the basic things I teach, number one, is being able to get comfortable with asking for help, being comfortable being in need of service, right? If we can get that down first, then it's easier to start like, you know, delegating, right? It's easy to delegate if I know how to ask. And then we start to think like, you know what, it's okay if it's not done the way I normally would do it. I'm going to empower the people around me to rise up and do the things that I need to do because I'm actually rising into motherhood. What motherhood means is not just taking care of myself and taking care of this infant or whoever comes, right? It's also being able to take care of my own unique needs and grow everyone else around me so I can nurture them through actually putting responsibility onto them to rise into to help me, right? And so you see the matriarchs, if you look at like the women who like are running communities and stuff, they're just like telling people what to do. Like grandmas and aunties and stuff, they're telling people what to do. Go do that. Go do this. Run to the store for me. Go do that, right? They know how to delegate. And so we need to start to get used to that because we're used to it in the workplace, right? We're used to telling people what to do there, or we're used to figuring out how to organize and develop systems there. And then when it comes to home, it's like, oh, how do I do this? The same way, right? We got to figure out how to allocate space and time and also to like take some stuff off our plates and then invite people around us to be in community with us. Obviously that's different during COVID, right? So that's going to look different in a virtual capacity. And there's lots of ways we can talk about how to support people through a moment like this, but it is being able to ask, it is being able to delegate, and it is being able to soften into this new role, which is going to be completely different than how you were before.
So basically what you're saying is it is necessary to have one, if not multiple sister wives is basically what you're saying.
Get your sister wives, honey.
Just get your sister wives.
Yes.
Well, it reminds me of the elephants. If you guys ever heard this about elephants, I heard this recently, right? So that when an elephant is giving birth, all the other female elephants surround the elephant who's giving birth to protect the mother and the baby. Yeah. And it's just such a good metaphor for Band of Mothers, obviously, but so I just feel like that was a lesson I certainly didn't learn when I was pregnant, when I had teeny babies. And mainly it was because physiologically it was so difficult to even let my husband have the baby for an hour so I could go to a
Right.
book club. I mean, it
Right.
was
But is that because, and I was the same way, is that because we didn't learn how to ask for help? Like we actually didn't know the way, like the actual
power
significance, the
in that,
power of
yeah.
asking for help, and
I mean,
then
that could be
accepting
one.
help.
That could be one of the reasons, but also many of us, if you think about it, like we're so used to doing everything well and everything right. And so if we have a way of doing things, even if it's new to us, right? If this baby is new, obviously I don't have a pattern with this baby. I'm figuring it out. Everything is new, right?
Mhm.
But I have this belief that I can do it better than you, right? And so what it is like my partner, it's like he's gonna do it his way. It's not gonna be great, or it's not gonna be exactly what I want. It's okay, I'll just do it myself, right? And so there's this kind of thing like that, if you think about like your management style, right? And how you might say, well, I know this person's not going to do it my way, so I'm just going to do it. And so many of us who kind of take on this let it just be me role, right? Someone who's if you think about birth order, if you're like the firstborn in your family, right? Then you, or if you're the only girl, right, amongst, or like the first girl kind of thing, that kind of situation, that birth order, and depending on like how you show up in your identity, and also how you're gendered, you know, and how you're brought up, will dictate like how you support people and how you receive support, and whether or not you're actually capable of receiving support, right? And so what that can look like, what that can look like in relationships, in the workspace, what that can look like in parenting, is that you take on the role of doing freaking everything.
Well, I'm laughing because my son, I still brush he's 8. I still brush his teeth and tie his shoes and put his jacket on for him, because you know what? I would never get to leave the flipping house if I didn't just get it done, you know?
Of course, yes.
And that's such a mom, like, oh, it's too much for me to have to stop and explain
or wait, or have it not be.
I mean, so it's just, and that is so me to a T, which I just kept
well,
laughing.
you just paid for like 5 years of therapy in like 3.5 minutes.